Stampers, this is Sheila with Stampin' Wishes, and welcome to my studio. Today we're going to be making what I call the family photo, and I'm going to be, I'll bring it over and show you, but I just thought this reminded me of photo when I saw it. So I used a couple of stamp sets to get the effects. Of course, our Christmas crowd, gotta adore it. That's got to be a must stamp set. Fun coloring if you love to color like I do. Then what I did was to take our stitched star dies, because I wanted something that made it look like it was sitting in an album. And so then I came into here, and as you see, we've just got several of them that you can cut at one time. So it was really nice to be able to do it. This is a beautiful framelit set. I mean, it has so many different size stars with the stitches on them and all these other decorative elements. This is going to be a real fun die set to use. My stamps for to match this are on the way, so I haven't gotten those in yet. All right, so what you're going to do to need to make this card with is, oh, and also let me show you, we're going to be introducing this, and you'll have to excuse my lid. I broke my lid, but this seems to have been working pretty good. I've got a pin in it, and it seems to seal it. But it's our new Sunfall Accents puff paint. Love it. And this is where I used it, down here on the ground. I'm going to bring it up kind of close, and if you noticed, his little snowball is done the same way. Then I used some dazzling diamonds and accented some of the glitter here on his Santa suit and stuff. And we could probably even use, for just the fun of texture on his mustache or even his eyebrows, some of this, but I kind of like him without as well. Then inside our card, we open it up, and it says Christmas greetings from the gang, and may this Christmas be the best ever for you. Now, how I got this here is I took some of the DSP, let me find my DS, here it is, from our night before Christmas, and on that particular one, which is this one here, I cut out this design here. And at first I had it in mind that I wanted them together like that, and then after I started looking, I thought, well, that's going to be a little bit too wide. There won't be anywhere to write my greeting. It struck me, go ahead and just cut it down there, and that's what I did, and put my cookies up here and then my cups down here. So we're going to be doing that today. Fun things that you can do with your DSP. All right, so let's set that aside and get started. All right, so what you're going to be needing today is a piece of real red cardstock, and it's cut at 8.5 by 5.5, and it's scored by 4 1/4. Remember, when you score it, to fold away from it. Then I like to, even though I've scored it and I've measured it, sometimes I can be off a little bit, so I have a tendency to, kind of want to grab it together here and then burnish it. And I'm looking for my bone folder real quick. There it is, buried. Okay, so here we go. I'm going to just burnish it so we make sure we get a good, nice fold on it. All right, so then the next thing we're going to do is we've got our layer of black that's going to go in the back. I'm sorry, wrong. That goes to the inside. We've got our layer of white that goes out here, and then we have our layer of black, and our layer of white that we've got here is let's see if I wrote down my, yeah, this one is 3 3/4 by 4 4. I've got two different measurements here. Let me just make sure that I've measured this correctly, because I did make a larger one for the inside. So this particular one here will measure 3 3/4 by 4 3/4. Okay, and then for your white layer, that one is going to be 4 by 5. All right, that's your two here. Then for the inside, you have one that measures 5.5 by 4 1/4. So this one, actually, it shouldn't be that large. I may not have trimmed, I may have just grabbed a scrap. Yeah, we'll take and trim it down just a little bit, on the top edge here. This is good for this area here. And then our inside white piece measures 5 by 4, okay? And so that'll fit right in there, but again, we will trim down the black end in just a little bit to bring it down, and this will all fit in. We'll bring this to 4 1/8, and if we need to, we can bring this to 3 3/8, just to make sure it all sits in nicely, okay? So let's set that aside for right now and do some of our stamping, okay? So this particular piece that I have here in the front, this one measures 4 1/4 by 3 1/2, okay? So let's go ahead and bring our Stamparatus out. And we'll go ahead and do this one first. I've made me a little mark, so hopefully it stayed. I've been kind of doing a few other cards too and filming, so hopefully I've got it still in the right place. Yeah, it probably could snitch over just a little bit this way. See how that works. That's good, and I'll just make sure that comes down there so I get a good full. Okay, so and on this card, as you can tell, there's a lot of coloring, but it's fast coloring, it's fun, but I'm not here today really to show you the coloring aspect of it, although I will publish the colors that I used, but I wanted to spend more time with the accents of it, okay? So see, this is why the Stamparatus is so good, because if something's not stamping off real well, then you just come back up here, and sometimes you just have to put a little pressure in certain areas, especially if your magnets are close. It can cause this to. And part of my problem, nope, I don't. I thought there for a second. So this is a good imprint, because what we will do with the blacks here is we're going to bring in a little bit darker black, and I don't want the outlines to start getting too fuzzy and everything, okay? So that one looks good like it is. So we'll take and set that aside and go ahead and do our inside greeting. Okay, bring this over and bring this out. And it's always a good idea to let those dry, because if you don't, you could end up with smudging. And there again, I'm pretty sure that I had lined it up with my Santa markings. That way I knew which card I was working on. And this should come right into there, and it does beautifully. And we used Real Red on that one, so we'll bring out our Real Red ink. But I think a lot of people are just googie over this new stamp, the Christmas crowd, because they are just precious. And there's so many different ways you could color them, and they're all, it just looks like they're posing, and one's ready to throw a snowball at you, and the others are just smiling up a storm. So that came out really, really pretty, so we don't need to restamp that one, but I will get the ink off of it, and we'll set that one to the side. As you can tell, a true stamper, I've been stamping quite a bit today, so I've got ink everywhere. All right, we'll set the red off, because I don't believe we need any more of that. And let's go ahead and do our inside portion. Set this off and bring this over and make sure everything fit well. And I think this is the one we were going to trim down just a little bit, because we know that we have, yeah, let's just take about 1/16 of an inch off of it. Okay, let's see what we're measuring at. It's measuring at 4 1/8, which should be good with having 4 1/2. But I'm going to go ahead and bring it down one little sliver there, just to give me that extra little room. Okay, and then we may do the same thing here. Need to change my blade, it's getting a little bit dull. That's okay, we can bring this in and trim off any of the edges. I'll change it out before I make my next card. Okay, and let's see how this fits in. We'll just take off a sliver off of this one and make sure it comes in at 3 7/8 is what we'll do this one at. Okay. Oh, that's great. All right. And I'll be sure to have these measurements on the screen where you're not having to redo like I just did. Okay. So let me go ahead and place this on there. Okay, and let's get our little strip, and we know that this has to be 3 7/8 to match. Well, that would be this direction. For that direction, we need it to be right at 5. So I'm going to make sure that this is trimmed to 5 inches. And I think I'll take it around this way since I don't want to cut off the whole cup if I can keep from it, and I didn't have to. Good. All right, so now this is where we're going to go in between, and I just really kind of eye this. I'm not measuring it at any particular point, but I definitely don't want to take the bottom of my cups off or the tops of my cookies if I can prevent it. Perfect. And what we're going to do is just trim off a little bit of this excess DSP color up here just to make this fit in. Probably go a little bit more and try and even it out there. Okay. And then we sliver that one little piece off there. Okay, so these are ready to assemble onto the inside of the piece. And so our bottom piece will go here. Doesn't that just add? I just thought it really, really looked great. Okay, so let's go ahead and put our adhesive there. Just love this card. I just think it's so precious. Gets me in the Christmas spirit. I know it gets sooner and sooner, doesn't it? We're not even into Thanksgiving yet, and we're already talking Christmas, but that's okay. I'd rather be prepared with my Christmas cards and not at the last minute like I some oftentimes do, trying to get all of my cards out. So let's go ahead and adhere this. I'm going to reach behind me real quick and get my Dazzling Diamonds. There it is. Okay, and so in order to save a little bit of time, obviously if we spend all that time coloring, I would need to really speed this up. So I think just giving you the colors that I use on screen, everything should be good. What I wanted you to get to see mostly is stamping, you know, how I did the snowflakes here. I'll stamp those on there, and then how I added the different collections of colors and stuff. So and embellishments. So let's go ahead and do that. I was looking around because I thought I had put it in there. Now I'm not seeing it. Is my little red rhinestones. And I've laid them down somewhere and I don't see where they're at. So I have to look for those. Now I do want to stamp for the snow so that we're not getting a real strong color. So I'm going to bring that stamp in and we're going to go ahead, and I like to look at it because this evidently my ink, and I'm using the Seaside spray, is new, the pad is, and so if I'm not careful when I'm going down, I get it on the edges, and then unfortunately that stamps onto my paper. So that's why I'm looking at it, just to make sure I don't need to wipe the edges off any before I do that. They're still looking clean. That's a perfect color to me for our Christmas stuff, and that really pretty blue shade. Okay, I think that's all that we need there, so let's go ahead and stamp that off and clean it. Put this off to the side, and I think we're done with that. We shouldn't need it anymore. And then we're going to bring in, and we'll do our Dazzling Diamonds at the, well, let's go ahead and get them done. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I've got some of my Tombow, but it's in a smaller area here, and so it makes it a little bit easier, and I'm going to bring my Dazzling Diamonds in here, but it makes it a little bit easier to control how much ink I want, and I can use the tip of the needled part of the deal to control the amount of glue that I have and help me spread it out at the same time. Okay, so we'll go ahead and get his suit done, and of course I don't want this to dry on me before I get my glittering Dazzling Diamonds on there, but I'm just going to real quickly kind of pop some around the dots and the snowflakes, just little dots, so that we can get a little bit of that gleamer right into that. Nothing like dazzling. Let's see, might as well bring it to his little balls on his shoes and our bells and our nose here. Gotta have a shiny nose. Might as well make our ornament shiny while we're in here. Okay, so let's go ahead and put our lid on and dip this into our Dazzling Diamonds. It's just about time to get me some more. It looks like I'm starting to get a little low. And that is the one of the items I don't like to be out of, is my Dazzling Diamonds and my Wink of Stella. Those are two of my favorite go-tos for my embellishment. But I think that came out really pretty. Let's get it down here where you can see the sheen of it. Okay. Alright, so since this card, like I mentioned before, is not really about the coloring and everything, although I will list all the markers I used, I mainly wanted to introduce, if you haven't tried it yet, is this new Snowfall Accents puff paint. And you'll have to excuse mine. I actually broke the container lid, and so I put a pin in it, and it seems to be working real well. So we'll go ahead and continue using it until I use this one up. Alright, so what we're going to do, if you can see, it's kind of on a thin side, so the thicker you place that snow, and you can put it kind of in between the feet and the like, the more it's going to puff up for you as you start to do your card. So that's what we're going to do here. We're just applying that puff paint to make our snow. Now, if we wanted to, and since I have sparkle in other areas, I'm not going to do it with the puff paint today, but as you, if you want to, is you can add some of our new glitter that's ultra fine and really pretty, and add that to it and make that sparkle as well. But I wanted just the snow effect on the bottom. So we're going to go ahead and heat up our And since mine, I got a little much on there, we'll let it go again at this. I'm going to go ahead and come in down on this one. Hopefully I came down. Let me check that and see. No, I think I went further. So you can see this as it starts to puff. Now you can kind of start to see it puff up like magic. There it goes. Got our thick snow down there just like I like it. Our little snowball. See how big the snowball gets? Then you will end up. Okay, as you can see with the puff paint, how cute does it come out? Look at that snowball. Isn't that just so realistic? Look at the dimension. And the same thing with the snow on the bottom. Really dimensional. And as you can see, it's dry, so it's staying where it's... Okay, as you can remember from the cards that we had, let's lay them out. This is the way it will come out. Let me zoom back out again. Okay, and then of course, let's move this over here, and then that's what the inside looks like. And then I'll just add this one over here to a card front, and we'll have a beautiful cardigan. So until next time, happy creating and God bless.